mylohyoid bone. So mylohyoid line of the mandible is the origin site of the mylohyoid muscle. So this is the mylohyoid line in the inner aspect of the body of the mandible, and insertion, the posterior fiber inserted into the body of the hyoid bone. So these are the posterior fiber inserted into the body of the hyoid bone. So this is the body of the hyoid bone, and the anterior fiber, they are inserted into the median raphe. So this is the median raphe in the floor of the mouth. So they are the insertion site of the anterior fiber of the mylohyoid muscles. And the two mylohyoid muscles together, they form a gutter-shaped floor of the mouth and support the weight of the tongue, and hence called the diaphragm oris. And the nerve supply of the mylohyoid, right, the mylohyoid branch of the inferior alveolar nerve, and is the branches from the mandibular branch of the trigeminal nerve. And action, it helps to elevate the floor of the mouth and thereby help in deglutition and help in depression of the mandible. So this is the function of the mylohyoid muscles. So what is the applied aspect of these muscles, why they are clinically important? The Ludwig angina is the condition caused by the cellulitis of the floor of the mouth, usually originating from the carious molar tooth, especially the mandibular molar tooth. And the infection spread above the mylohyoid, and edema forces the tongue upward, and the swelling present in both the sides below the chin and within the mouth. So drainage, deep incision below the mandible dividing the mylohyoid muscles helps to drain the Ludwig's angina. Talking about the geniohyoid, they get originated from the inferior genital tubercle of the symphysis menti. So this is the symphysis menti, the inner aspect of the symphysis menti, where we can see the genital tubercles. The superior and the inferior genital tubercles are there. So the geniohyoid originated from the inferior genital tubercle. So this is the inferior genital tubercle of the symphysis menti, and it is inserted into the body of the hyoid bone. So geniohyoid muscles, they are supplied by the C1 nerve through the hypoglossal nerve, and action, it helps to move the hyoid bone upward and forward and shortens the floor of the mouth. So that is the geniohyoid muscles. So that is all about the suprahyoid muscles. So talking about the submandibular gland, so it is one of the three major pair of the salivary gland. Each gland is size of walnut. So here we can appreciate the submandibular salivary gland, that is 10 to 20 grams in weight and lies in the digastric triangle. So digastric triangle is the triangle in the neck, in the anterior neck. So it is bounded by the anterior belly, intermediate tendon, and the posterior belly of the digastric muscles, and the base is formed by the base of the mandible. So that is the digastric triangle, where the major content of the digastric triangle is the submandibular salivary gland, and it is the mixed type of the salivary gland, predominantly serous type. So the capsule of the submandibular salivary gland is derived from the deep cervical fascia of the neck, and the superficial layer of this fascia, which is attached on the base of the mandible, and the deeper layer attached to the mylohyoid line of the mandible. The investing layer of the deep cervical fascia splits into two layers and covers the inferior and the medial surface of the gland, attached to the lower border of the body of the mandible and to the mylohyoid line. So these two layers, they enclose the submandibular salivary gland. So here we can appreciate the investing layer of the deep cervical fascia. They enclose the salivary gland here, the submandibular salivary gland. The superficial part of the gland is situated in the digastric triangle. So the submandibular gland in the digastric triangle. Three surfaces are there. They are the inferior surface, lateral surface, and the medial surface. So inferior surface towards the neck, lateral surface towards the mandible, the bony mandible, and the medial surface towards the medial aspect towards the midline of the body. And the two ends are the anterior and the posterior end. So here we can appreciate the anterior end, and this one is the posterior end of the gland. So extending forward to the anterior belly of the digastric and to the backward to the stylomandibular ligament on the back. And above it extends medial to the body of the mandible, and below overlaps the intermediate tendon of the digastric and the insertion of the stylohyoid muscles. So this is the extension of the submandibular gland. So in the relations, the inferior surface is covered by the skin. So here we can appreciate the skin with the superficial fascia having the platysma, and the facial veins can be appreciated here. And the deeper fascia, it splits into two to enclose the gland, and the facial vein and the cervical branch of the facial nerve are there in the inferior surface. So that is the inferior surface of the submandibular salivary gland, the superficial part. And the lateral surface related to the submandibular fossa of the mandible. So this is the submandibular fossa of the bony mandible, which is in relation to the lateral surface of the gland. Talking about the facial artery, it is in close relation to the submandibular salivary gland. First of all, deep to the gland here, and emerges between the lateral surface. This is the bone, so lateral surface and the submandibular fossa of the mandible here, and reach the lower border of the mandible. So this is the relation of the facial artery in the lateral surface. So the medial surface is related anteriorly to the mylohyoid muscles, and the mylohyoid vessels and the nerves are also there. So mylohyoid muscles is in medial aspect of the superficial part of the gland. So this is the superficial part of the gland. This one is the deeper part of the submandibular salivary gland. So the medial surface is divided into three parts. So this medial surface is divided into three parts, that is the anterior part, middle part, and the posterior part. So the anterior part is related with the mylohyoid muscles, nerves, and vessels. So mylohyoid muscles along with the nerves and vessels here in the anterior part. Similarly, the middle part is related with the hyoglossus, styloglossus muscles, the lingual nerve, the submandibular ganglion, and the hypoglossal nerve. And in the posterior part, it is related with the styloglossus muscles, the stylohyoid ligament, glossopharyngeal nerve, the posterior belly of the digastric, and the middle constrictor of the pharynx. So the hypoglossal nerve and the first part of the lingual artery are also there. So anterior part and its relation, middle part and its relation, and the posterior part and its relation. So posteriorly it is related with the styloglossus, the stylohyoid ligament, glossopharyngeal nerve, posterior belly of the digastric, and middle constrictor muscles of the pharynx. So here we can see the submandibular salivary gland, and is the submandibular ganglion with the submandibular duct in front. And this is the sublingual salivary gland in the floor of the mouth. So the deeper part, it extends forward to the posterior end of the sublingual gland. So this is the superficial part, and medial is the deeper part. And it is related laterally with the mylohyoid muscles, and medially the hyoglossus muscles. This is the hyoglossus in the medial aspect. And above it is related with the lingual nerve and the submandibular ganglion attached with the lingual nerve, and below is the hypoglossal nerve. So hypoglossal nerve inferiorly, lingual nerve with the submandibular ganglion superiorly, medially is the hyoglossus muscles, and laterally is the mylohyoid, which is removed here. So they are the relation of the deeper part of the submandibular salivary gland. Talking about the submandibular duct, the secretion of the submandibular salivary gland from the superficial and the deeper part, it is carried by the submandibular duct. So it is about 5 centimeter in length and is known as Wharton's duct. Begins from the middle of the deeper part of the superficial part of the gland, deeper and the superficial part of the gland, and runs first upward and backward and then runs forward and upward. So upward, backward and forward and again upward is the course of the submandibular salivary gland or the Wharton's duct, which carries the secretion of the submandibular salivary gland. So this is the Wharton's duct which carries and pour its contents into the floor of the mouth. It emerges at the end of the deep part of the gland and runs on the hyoglossus muscles and thereafter between the subgland and the genioglossus muscles. At the bottom of the hyoglossus muscles, it is closely related with the lingual nerve. So at first the nerve lies above and crosses lateral side and finally ascends medially winding round the lower border of the duct like this. Okay, so this is the course of the submandibular salivary duct in relation with the lingual nerve. So first of all, nerve lies above the duct, then crosses it to the lateral side and finally ascends medially winding around the lower border of the duct and opens in the floor of the mouth. So this is the floor of the mouth. Here we can appreciate the frenulum linguae and sublingual papilla at the site of the frenulum linguae, where the submandibular salivary duct opens on each side of the frenulum of the tongue. So this is the frenulum of the tongue and the opening of the submandibular duct here. And the blood supply of the gland by the branches of the facial and the lingual artery. So they are again the branches from the external carotid artery. Venous drainage corresponds to the arteries and drain into the internal jugular vein, and the lymphatic drainage into the submandibular lymph nodes. So the nerve supply is very important. So the nerve supply by the branches from the submandibular ganglion. So sensory by the lingual nerve, sympathetic by the plexus on the facial artery, that is the secretomotor to the mucous secretion, and parasympathetic via the secretomotor that causes the watery secretion. So this is important for exam purpose. So parasympathetic supply to the submandibular gland or the parasympathetic secretomotor nerves, they run as follows. So preganglionic fibers from the superior cervical nucleus, they are situated in the pons, and the fibers run via the facial nerve. So it passes through the chora tympani nerve of the branches from the facial nerve, then it passes through the lingual nerve, and it relays in the submandibular ganglion. Okay, that is the relay station, and the postganglionic fiber, they reach the submandibular gland to supply the secretomotor supply to the gland. So preganglionic fibers from the superior salivary nucleus passes through the facial nerve, through the chora tympani nerve, through the lingual nerve, and relay in the submandibular ganglion, and the postganglionic fiber, it supplies to the gland for the secretomotor secretion or secretion of the gland. So try to practice this flow chart for exam purpose. And the sympathetic nerves reach the gland around the facial artery, and the postganglionic fibers arises from the superior cervical ganglion of the sympathetic trunk. They passes through the submandibular ganglion without relay and supply the vasomotor fibers to the gland, to the vessels. Okay, so that is the nerve supply of the submandibular salivary gland. So do you have any queries? Anybody? Do you have any queries? Yuvraj, are you there? Yuvraj, are you there? Karisma?
Yes, ma'am.
Karisma, do you have any queries?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So if you have any queries, please ask, okay? So move on to the sublingual salivary gland. sublingual salivary gland is the smallest of the three pairs of the major salivary glands. So we can appreciate in the anterior aspect of the floor of the mouth here. And it is almond in shape. Weight is about 3 to 4 gram, very small. Located in the floor of the mouth between the mucous membrane and the mylohyoid muscle. So this is the location of the sublingual salivary gland in the floor of the mouth between the mucosa, oral mucosa and the mylohyoid muscles which are forming the floor of the mouth. So this is the location of the sublingual salivary gland, and lodges in the sublingual fossa of the mandible. It is predominantly the mucus type. The secretion is the mucus type. So here this one is the sublingual salivary gland and this one is the submandibular salivary gland. So about 8 to 20 ducts emerges from the gland, and these ducts are known as duct of Rivinus, directly opens into the floor of the mouth on the summit of the sublingual floor. And some duct, they form the anterior part of the gland, unite to form the sublingual duct of Bartholin, and open into the submandibular duct. Okay, it can open individually or it can open along with the submandibular salivary gland duct. And the blood supply is by the lingual and submental arteries. Again, they are the branches from the external carotid artery. The lymphatic drainage into the submental and submandibular lymph nodes. So submental lymph nodes in the submental triangle just below the chin, and submandibular lymph nodes in the submandibular fossa or submandibular region of the mandible or the digastric fossa. And the nerve supply by the postganglionic fibers from the submandibular ganglion reach the sublingual gland via the lingual nerve, similar to the submandibular salivary gland. So the applied aspect is the submandibular salivary gland is removed in cases of tumor. If there is tumorous lesion in submandibular salivary gland, we have to remove it. During surgery, care must be taken to avoid the injury to the cervical and the marginal mandibular branches of the facial nerve, facial artery, lingual nerve and the hypoglossal nerve, because the submandibular region or the submandibular triangle, it is prone for the injury to the cervical and marginal mandibular branches of the facial nerve. So facial nerve in the face, it gives different branches, among them cervical towards the neck, marginal mandibular towards the base of the mandible. So they are in danger during the surgery of the submandibular gland. Okay, and we have to protect the facial artery, lingual nerve and the hypoglossal nerve. Salivary calculi, stone in the duct, in the submandibular duct, can be seen. It can cause the retention of the secretion within the salivary gland. And radiologically, it can be demonstrated by a technique known as xylography. So that is the radiographic procedure or the technique to identify the stone in the salivary duct. So here we can see the contrast X-ray of the duct system of the major salivary gland. If there is any calculi, we can see the stone or the blockage can be appreciated in this region. The next applied is the ranula, the cystic swelling in the floor of the mouth. So this is the cyst in the floor of the mouth due to the obstruction of the duct of the major salivary gland, especially the sublingual salivary gland. Because of the obstruction, the swelling can occur, and that is known as ranula. That is all about the submandibular and sublingual salivary gland. So do you have any queries, anybody? Vinay, are you there? Ashish? Are you there? Anil, are you there? Abhishek? Ganesh, are you there?
Hazir, ma'am.
Do you have any queries?
No, ma'am.
Okay. This parasympathetic supply to the submandibular gland, the flow chart is important for exam purpose. Okay. And move on to the submandibular ganglion. So here we can appreciate one small nodular structures which is hanging on the lingual nerve is the submandibular ganglion. So small fusiform ganglion of the parasympathetic system is the submandibular ganglia. It is topographically or positionally connected with the lingual nerve, but functionally connected with the chorda tympani branch of the facial nerve. So topographically it is related with the lingual nerve, but functionally connected with the chorda tympani branch of the facial nerve. And it lies on the hyoglossus muscle. So here we can see the hyoglossus muscles. And just above the deeper part of the submandibular salivary gland. So deeper part of the submandibular salivary gland is located here. So it is just above the deeper part of the submandibular salivary gland. And it is connected with the lingual nerve by the two roots. So we can appreciate here the posterior root and the anterior root, which helps to hang, or which is something like hanging the nodule here. Okay, so this is the lingual nerve. So posterior root, anterior root, and this one is the submandibular ganglion. So it is connected or topographically related with the lingual nerve, but functionally it is related with the chorda tympani branch of the facial nerve. So here all the structure can be appreciated. Okay, so there's the facial lingual artery can be seen, deep lingual vein can be seen in the floor mouth. Okay, and here we can appreciate some branches from the external carotid, and one more nerve, glossopharyngeal nerve, and the hypoglossal nerve can be seen. So connection, the parasympathetic secretomotor fibers are there in the in relation to the submandibular ganglion. So preganglionic secretomotor fibers from the superior salivatory nucleus in the pons passes from the lingual nerve to the ganglion through the posterior root. So preganglionic fiber from the superior salivatory nucleus, they passes to the ganglion via the posterior root, and the fibers relay in the ganglion. Okay, and the postganglionic fibers passes through the anterior root to supply the submandibular and the sublingual salivary gland. So here we can appreciate the dot-like structures which are supplying to the submandibular salivary gland and the sublingual salivary gland for the secretion. The secretomotor fibers are passes via this. So the some posterior postganglionic fibers passes for the sublingual gland, re-enter the lingual nerve through the anterior root and supply the gland. So the fibers from the submandibular salivary gland, it can directly goes to the submandibular salivary gland, and sometimes it some of the fibers, it passes through the anterior root and goes anteriorly and supply the sublingual salivary gland. So once again, the secretomotor fibers from the superior salivatory nucleus, they passes via the facial nerve, via the chorda tympani nerve, via the lingual nerve, the posterior root of the lingual nerve here, the posterior root, and it relay the submandibular ganglion, and the postganglionic fiber, they supply the submandibular salivary gland, and some fibers, they passes through the anterior root and again passes through the lingual nerve and supply to the sublingual salivary gland for the secretomotor secretion or the secretion of the gland. So the secretion of the gland, the submandibular gland have the mixed secretion, especially the serous type, and sublingual salivary gland, it has the mucus secretion. Okay, so these are the secretion of these two glands. And the sympathetic fibers derive from the plexus around the facial artery. They passes through the ganglion without relay and supply the vasomotor fiber to the submandibular and sublingual salivary gland, and the sensory fibers reach the ganglion through the lingual nerve. So that is the nerve supply of the salivary gland, major salivary gland. So these are very important for the exam purpose. Okay, so do you have any queries, anybody? Abdul, are you there? Abdul. If you have any queries, you can ask and try to draw this for the parasympathetic secretomotor supply to the submandibular and sublingual salivary gland. So do you have any queries, anybody? If not, have a good day.